One of the best ways you can tell if this kind of weather is weather that you can fly through is to not look at the radar, but to actually look at the imagery. So right now, the time is 0055 Zulu, and you can see that I'm zoomed in here on the 00 Zulu weather for Thursday. And flying from Tennessee down to Florida, you can see there's a cold front going through with a lot of precipitation, rain, chances of storms, and that cold front. See that big high pressure system is pushing that cold front from the northwest to the southeast towards this trough, this area of elongated low pressure. Now, one thing you'll notice is that there's a low pressure system right here that kind of follows all the way up through this direction to this low pressure system. These isobars here are fairly low pressure. See 1008 there, you can kind of see that. That low pressure tells me that whatever storms are going to be along that front is probably going to be embedded. And when you have that low pressure area combined with that cold front and that trough ahead of it, that tells me unstable air, thunderstorms, probably severe. You might even get like tornadoes and hail, and it's most likely embedded. And we do not want to fly an embedded storm. So let's go back to our radar and see what's going on. Some of these clouds aren't too high, or tops aren't too high. Some of the 30s up here, it's in the 20s. Over here, it's in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Over here, some of it's even in the 50s. And you can even see right here, there's a tornado symbol right there. So, I mean, this is not good weather to fly through in general, but maybe you could fly over it if you were in the jet. But in this case, we're planning on a Baron or a twin-engine piston, something like that. But looking at this, let's go ahead and take a look at the SIGMETs. And opening up the SIGMETs, see, okay, we got a lot going on. I'm going to go ahead and turn off some of these and just look at my convective stuff. And I'm going to get rid of the radar. And I already guessed that these SIGMETs were going to be convective, really serious, probably embedded. So tapping on this one right here, you can see on the first little paragraph, if you go to the bottom section, the third line up, you'll see area severe embedded thunderstorms. Moving from 260 at 40 knots, tops at 45,000, hail to 1-inch, wind gusts to 60 knots possible. Pretty close to what I predicted. Looking down here near Jackson, Mississippi, same idea. Fourth line up from this first paragraph, area severe embedded thunderstorms. Tornadoes, hail to 2-inch, wind gusts 60 knots possible. Then one over here isn't really applicable to us, but it does show an area of thunderstorms in that area. But yeah, I mean, that checks out. Whenever I see big radar stuff going on in a area of low pressure, especially along a front, I'm thinking it's going to be severe and it's going to be ugly. And remember, if you see embedded storms, that means you can't see the cells and avoid them. If it wasn't embedded, you might have a chance of being able to visualize it and getting around. Now, of course, right now it's 8 o'clock at night, so I'm probably not going to be able to see anything anyway. But this does give you just an idea if it was the daytime. Looking back over here, I go to my surface analysis, and you can see right here along our current time, we're showing a cold front. I see this pressure gradient about 1008. These isobars are flying along this direction. It's all pretty consistently low pressure, and that low pressure creates instability, and that instability sucks up all that moisture up into the atmosphere. So all the clouds are going to be up aloft, which means you're probably not going to be able to see the actual weather you're flying through, which is not okay. So you can see here there's a low pressure, some troughs, and moving on. The front keeps moving on and on and on. And of course, later in the day, tomorrow, the high pressure system pretty much takes over and it clears all the weather out of the area. But that front is definitely pushing some really violent weather. And something else you can see about that front is if we go over here to documents and go to the weather book on the FAA, you can read the section about cold fronts. And right here, you can see that cold front scoops up that warm air and has a lot of really tall, big, violent kinds of storms. It shows the wind pattern of what it generally looks like. Whereas a warm front, for instance, it's on the other side. Here we go. A warm front, is much smoother. It's much more widespread. It's not quite as violent usually. But a cold front, now that's where those big, tall cumulonimbus clouds are going to come in and probably eat your lunch. So that cold front plus the low pressure system tells me I'm expecting embedded, which means I probably can't see what I'm doing. the SIGMETs confirm that. And then going on over to my IFR, I mean, I can see some IFR air mets that are popping up just, near my departure time. Tap on those, see ceiling below 1,000, visibility below 3 miles, precipitation mist. Then there's, of course, this pink one over here is mountain obscuration from precipitation and mist. Tap on turbulence low, tap on that one. Moderate severity of turbulence from 16,000 to the surface. I can kind of look and see what time frame that's for. As a move, it does a little bit. So it's probably be bumpy and cloudy and kind of crappy all through this area. Ice, what do I have for ice? Okay, there's some ice in departure area too. Let's see right here. I'm showing that one's not active yet, but the freezing levels are 12 and 13,000. A little earlier in the day, it's showing ice, moderate ice between 11 and 12,000. So yeah, if I stay below that, I should be all right. If I wasn't already not going because of the other weather. Something else to look at here is the clouds. And one of my favorite ways of telling what kind of clouds I'm dealing with is to look at my flight plan here and then go to flight plan and profile. And up here in the corner, you can select clouds. Of course, I also have airspace selected, which you can see right here. But when those clouds load, and there we go, there's the clouds. You can see it's pretty thick all the way from Nashville, all the way past Atlanta, really. And you can see, if you look on the main screen here, you can see that little green dot moving along as I move my finger up here. You can see kind of where that stuff is. So I'm going to be in those clouds during all that embedded activity. And then by the time I get down there, even if I leave in the next few minutes, I'm still probably going to get hit by this over here. That's showing tornadoes. I mean, we do not want to be flying through that. We just don't, okay? Embedded storms you can't be dealing with. Now, I might be able to take off from Nashville and go west. I could do something like this. I can maybe even do a little bit of this if I can stay away from what's happening down here. I could go northeast. But I definitely don't really want to be going past Chattanooga because I'm not going to be able to see those storm cells as I get closer. And that's really the big thing. If you can't see the convective activity, you should not be flying through it. A couple other things you can look at just to get an idea what the weather's doing is go to your satellite. And there we go. The clouds popped up. These clouds are measured by temperature. So the brighter the colors and the darker the colors, the lower, the colder the temperature is of those clouds. And it makes sense because the higher the cloud is, the colder it's going to be at the top. So you can see down here in Montgomery, near Jackson, New Orleans, that area, the clouds are really cold, which means they're really high. So the most violent storms are going to be down there. And you can use your little thing down here to move along and see what the clouds are doing, where they're all going. You can see basically before Chattanooga, which is right here. Before there, it seems like it's going to be all right. But south of the Tennessee line, it gets pretty ugly. So I'm not really going to want to fly through that, especially at night. And my color IR is infrared. Also shows the same kind of idea. It shows a wider temperature range of the clouds. If you're savvy, you can actually use this with winds aloft temperature data to figure out what temperature certain altitudes are, and then kind of reverse engineer the temperature that you see these clouds at to the temperature at certain altitudes and kind of get an idea of how high they are. But you can, of course, like to go back to that profile view in the flight plan and just use the clouds feature there. I think it's a lot more useful. For some reason, it's not wanting to load very quickly, but I've already shown you how it works, so I'm not too worried about it. There it is, right there. You can see. And if I switch this over to a different airplane, like a jet or something like here's an Epic, right? And I select 30,000 feet and I go to profile view. You can see even at 30,000 feet, I'm not going to be able to fly through that. I'm going to be right in the soup. I do not want to fly through that, even at 30,000 feet in turboprop, because that is going to be a disaster waiting to happen. Just look at the turbulence and see what that's going to show. Boom, right there, see? Violent turbulence all throughout that flight. I'm not going to want to be doing that. Embedded storms are no joke, guys, okay? Embedded storms are absolutely no joke. Check your SIGMETs, and if you see area severe embedded thunderstorms, embedded in anything, you want to stay completely out of that nonsense. Not a good day for flying.